So today we're going to be doing drawing 9, which is the profile set out. So I've got my page set up already with a margin and title block down here. We're going to need our T-square for this drawing and our 60/30 square as well. So if you have the instructions there, you'll see there's instructions for this drawing, and there's a few things that we need to be aware of. The drawing has some faint grey lines, which are these dotted set out lines, so make them really faint when we do them, and just use them as a guide for setting out the rest of your drawing. So things we should be really concerned with are the scale 1 to 10, so the profile section size, the length, the footings and timber frames will change measurements. Alright, so if it's a 1 to 10, our timber profile will end up being 9 by 4.5 millimeters. Our profile length will end up being 78 millimeters. Our footing depth will be 25 millimeters, and our timber frame, similarly to our profile section size, will be 9 by 4.5 millimeters. So let's have a quick look on this side. We've got this is what we're aiming for today. We've got a few set out dimensions here for us to save us doing all the calculations. We've got 13 mil down from the top, and then our boxes that we're going to do our set out for are going to be 100 by 100. So using these dimensions here, we can do a little set out on the page. So starting at the top, coming down 13 mil, we can just put a faint line across the page. So my little red line over here is on 281, so I'm just going to come down to 268. Remember, when we're drawing faint lines, to hold the pencil or the pacer up the top and just gently drag that across your page to give you a nice faint line. Right, then we're going to come down 100 mil, so I'm going to go from 268 down to 168. I'm going to have a really faint line again, and then another 13 mil, so from 168 down to 155. And then we'll finish on coming down 100 mil again, finish on 55. And this should give us a little bit of room, hopefully about 12 or 13 mil, maybe a little bit more, between our title block and our last line there. So now that we've done that, we can do our set out from left to right. We're coming in 60 mil from the left side, and then 100 mil, and then 60 mil, and hopefully that should give us fairly consistent lines across the page. So I'm just going to clamp this T-square off down low, and I'm going to put my 60/30 square on 60 mil down here. Just going to do a really faint line up the page, coming across 100 mil from 6 to 16 down here. Do another faint line up the page, and then across another 60 mil, so from 16 over to 22. Another nice faint line up the page, and from 22 we're going to go to 32 up here for our very last 100 mil. If your leftover spacing is a little bit bigger or smaller than 60 mil, don't worry too much about that. So now we've got our 4 boxes here, 1, 2, 3, 4. What we probably want to do first is draw our profiles here in the same position or same spot in all 4 boxes, and that way we know that we can make these nice and accurate. And once we've done that, we can make the starting point of all of these concrete footings the same for each one as well. Okay, so let's start with this timber profile. Remember from our instructions over here, we've got 78mm long and 9 by 4.5. So we know that this is going to be 9mm high and 4.5 wide. We know from end to end it's going to be 78. So judging on the position of these, it looks like we've just come in a little bit on the side, maybe about 5mm, and we've probably come up about the same. So let's go ahead and draw this horizontal part of our profile on first. Just going to start in this bottom left corner. Alright, so how can we do this? We know that it's 78mm long on the angle there. So let's get our square set up. Actually, let's start in this top left corner. It might be a little bit easier for us to set our squares up on this page. So we know it's 78mm long, which is about there, and we said that we were going to bring in this side and that bottom side about 5mm from our box. So we can go ahead and draw that first bottom line. This bottom line, oh, sorry, we're working on this top line first, aren't we? So this bottom line in first, and we're going to bring that in 5mm from the edge, from the top and the bottom, roughly, okay? Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to work off this first one and then we can make the rest the same. So, actually, let's make it perfect. That's what we aim for here, perfection. So, over from 60 to 65, we'll just do a real faint line. And then up from the bottom, about 5mm, so from 68 to 73, we'll just do a real faint line across there. Okay, so now we can line this corner up on our faint line there, and our bottom corner up on that faint line there. And draw that very first line in, my pacer. Draw that very first line in, right there. Okay, now that line there is the same as what we've just highlighted there. So we're in 5mm from our box, and we're up 5mm from the bottom of our box. Now we can go ahead and draw the rest of it in. So let's work on this end first. So let's come up our 9mm. You can line your square up there and just go up 9. Okay, and from that we can get just about everything else. We flip our square over. We know that we've got to go across on our angle 4.5mm. So let's go up there, 4.5. Let's go up our 9mm from there. Nice and easy. And we can join those two together. And then we can do these two lines. So we know that we're 78 up, and that should take us to that faint line up here. Just like that. And then we've got another line to put in over here, 78mm. Up to there, to 100. Just gone from the 78 down there. And then join all these lines up on this top left corner. And that's the start of our profile. Very easy. So let's go ahead and reproduce this timber in all 4 boxes, just so that we can move through this in a few steps. So I'm just going to draw a faint line up 5 mil from our faint line on the bottom boxes. And then we can draw that same box down here. So if you're finding it hard to get your square low enough, there is another way, but try to use the 100 or 150 or 200 to give you your points for this, so that you don't have to drop the square too low. So I'm just going to go from 200 on this left hand 5 mil line. Okay, and then we can go up 9.5 mil on the top here, and then down here as well. Sorry, 9 mil, not 9.5 mil. And flip our square over to get the 4.5 mil up to the right. Again, coming up 9 mil, and then we can just go ahead and join all of these lines together. So there we've got 2 done. Let's do these 2 on our right hand side now. Just going to put that last little faint line in here, 5 mil across for these boxes to work to. So again, try and use the 200 instead of the 100s or the top of your square to find that 78 for our first line. Coming up 9 mil there, 9 mil at the bottom, and going to come across 4.5, just like before. Just running out of room here. Sorry about this, a little bit messy. Alright, and then let's join them all up. So from 100 to 178 on the rake gives us that first line. And we're going to come up 9 mil, just like all of the other 3. Go up on the angle 4.5. Same up here, 4.5. Again up here, 4.5. And then join them all up. Then the first part of our profile is all done on all 4 drawings. It's really, this should stay the same the whole way through. Very good. So now we should have all 4 of these done the whole way. Okay, so you can see that these have some vertical timbers holding them in position. We can come back and draw those last. Okay, there's no rush to draw them straight away. Let's plan out where we're going to put our starting point for our footings. Okay, so starting in this top left hand corner, if we look at the size of this box, we can see that this footing is a little bit off center. We'd say center is about there, a little bit off center. So maybe we'll come across, if this is 100 by 100, center would be 50 mil. So maybe we could come over to 60 mil. So let's put the start of all of these footings here at 60 mil from the left hand side of our outside of our box. So now what we can do is just put a very, very, very faint line in our box about 60 mil. Right, this one over from 22 to 28, really, really faint line. And how far down should we come? If we're going to spin it and figure out, okay, halfway is about there. We're up from halfway, aren't we? In all of them. So how far down do you think we should come? If that's going to be about 50, I think we're probably about maybe 35 down. So let's come down from the top of our boxes, 35. So here I'm 268. So coming down 35 will put me at 233. And we'll just do a little line crossing over our 60 mil line to give us a little crosshair like that. And our bottom boxes going down from 155, we're going to come down 35, so we're going to be down at 12 on the left, or 120. Okay, so now we've got 4 little crosshairs in the same place in each box. Now from that, we can use that to draw some faint lines in. Okay, so we're going to use really faint lines to plan out our footings, and then we'll come back at the end and go over them and make them a little bit darker, just in case we make any mistakes. We can rub things out if they're just drawn lightly. Okay, so let's do this top left box first. Okay, we can see that this footing doesn't run all the way to the end because we've got a little section through here that we can look at. So judging by this, it's just in off the edge of the frame, probably about 10 or 12 mil. So let's run this. We can see 10 mil about here. Okay, I'm just going to put a little vertical line in there to remind us. Let's run this line from starting from our crosshair up there on our 30-degree angle all the way to that vertical line there. That's 10 mil in from the edge. Okay, and let's flip back over to our instructions. Footing depth, 250 mil. So on our page, it's going to be 25 millimeters. All right. So we can come down from our crosshair, 25 millimeters. Draw a line straight down, 25 millimeters. And again, we're going to join that one back up to that vertical line on the right. And we can see that we've got another vertical line here where our footing stops. So let's put a straight line there. And that back up, we can complete that drawing, putting a line in up to the right hand side where our border of our box is. Okay, this line that we drew before, we don't need that now, so we can just rub that out really faintly. And here we have the start of our footing. So what goes on top of our footing? We've got the slab on ground timber frame. So here we've got a bottom plate this way, we've got some vertical studs, we've got a little corner junction and some studs going out that way. So we know that they're 4.5 mil high and 90 mil wide, so let's put our bottom plates down and put our studs on top. So we know we've got to come up 4.5 mil on that angle. Same down here, up 4.5 mil. And then we're going to connect those up. That'll be at the top of our bottom plate. And then just going to rub this little line out from our crosshair before. Don't need that anymore. Okay, and then on this side we've got a 90 mil frame, so we're just going to come across 9 mil and then put in a vertical line for 4.5 mil and then join those two together. Right, and that's the end of our bottom plate there. Now we've got to come back into this corner and draw our stud cluster. So we're going to come up about halfway between our starting point and the top of our frame, so up to about here with our studs. So go ahead and draw a vertical line here like that, and we can just do a really faint line back this way. We've got, should be able to figure this out, should be draw a line sorry 4.5 mil down the page, right, for our first line for our stud. Then we're going to leave a gap. Now typically we'd leave a gap for a block the same width as our stud. So you go 4.5 and then leave 4.5, which gets us to 9 millimeters. And from 9 we want to draw another 4.5, which gets us to 13.5 millimeters. So it should look something like this: line, space, line. Okay, and we can do the same thing. Not the same thing, we're going to draw a vertical line here to take us down to the bottom plate like this. Okay, so we're going to have 3 vertical lines there. Just going to go over this line here a bit darker so it's easier for you to see. Right, so we've got our stud, gap, stud on our bottom plate, and then we need to come across 9.5 mil here, as well as up the top here. Then we can connect some of these lines like that, and we'll see our little corner junction starting to take shape. Might have to rewind this a few times just so that you can see what we're doing if you need to take it slow. Okay, feel free to pause things, slow things down, rewind it. Okay, should look something like that. The reason I've drawn this line the whole way through there and not there is because this stud reaches the whole way across. So this line up here, we can now continue that an extra 4.5 mil. Right, and then we're going to come down, and come down 9 mil. And that should be perfectly in line with that line there. Okay, and then don't forget, we've got a few vertical lines that we've got to add in. One is here, and one is just here. So now we've got our little corner junction, and we're missing one little line here. Let me just add that in. And that's complete. Okay, we can go ahead and put our detail on the tops of our studs to show that we've got end grain there, like we've cut the sawn timber. So put the little X on the top of our studs. And one on the end of our frame down here. Okay, then we can go ahead and put some little hatching in here for our concrete, just so that we know that it's concrete. And if you want, you can go ahead and put some lines in here to show that we've got dirt. Now, we've still got two things to add, and that's our little vertical supports for our profile. So we have to decide how far up and how far across to bring them. So I think a nice number would be about 5 mil. Bring them about 5 mil across. Just put a little mark there, and 5 mil down from the top, put a little mark there. Right, and that can be the outside edges of our profiles. Now we can bring them up about 5 mil as well. So bring that up there about 5 mil before I put some angled lines in. So we have 4.5 mil to the left, and we're going to go 9 mil to the right. It might take us over our hatching. It's okay. Might just have to rub out some of that to make room. Okay. Again, 9 mil over to the right. And I'm just gonna draw this vertical line in here. We've got a vertical line over here where our 9 mil stops, and that can go all the way to the bottom of our page, or to the bottom of this box. And don't forget to put in this line up here, which connects those two angled lines there. And remember that you have to continue these lines below our profile, as the timber does run all the way to the ground. Okay, so that would be our bottom one. We've got two little dots here for our nails or our screws. Let's do our top one here. So coming up 5mm we said. Now this time we're going to work down. Here we worked up, here we're going to work down. So back down 4.5mm. And if you want, you can throw that vertical line in quickly just to give it a bit of shape. We're going to go up about 9mm there, 9.5mm, sorry, and the same again up here. And we just go ahead and join all the dots. Join those two and project everything down to the bottom of the page. There we go. Oh, sorry, one thing we've still got to do is continue our bottom plate out here. Okay, so using this line up here, this top of our top plate, we can project that across and just run that to the edge of our border. That's fine. And then we have to come across 9mm, which is going to be this point here. Okay, because our top plate would come across 90mm. So coming across 9mm there, we're going to project this out. And then we've got the bottom, so we need to come down 4.5mm, which is to there. And we're going to project that out as well. Okay, now we've got our bottom plate running out there, bottom plate here, our stud cluster, we've got our ground, we've hatched our concrete, and the finishing touch on this profile is the little dots for the nails or the screws. Okay, so this drawing that we've done here looks slightly different to this drawing. If you wanted to stop your profile, like the legs of your profile here, and make them look a little bit shorter than that, feel free, that's fine. So one other thing, sorry, before we move on, is the saw cut. So let's just draw that little saw cut in there, which is going to line up with our corner of our concrete over here. Okay, so we can just put our saw cut like this. And that saw cut's just going to be a few milled in. Okay, just like that. Very good. All right. So we've done this first one up here now. Let's move down to this bottom left corner and do our strip footing with brick veneer. So we've got our profile already drawn, the ledger of it. Let's do the footing, which is going to be really similar to up here, except instead of showing our hatching this time, we're just going to run that to the border pretty much. So we can come down on the angle all the way to the edge of that box, and we can also come down 250mm, sorry, 25 mil, 1 to 10 scale, and just draw this line in faintly. We might have to rub out part of it later, like what we did here for our profile. Okay, and so now we have to figure out how far across do we bring these bricks in from the corner. So usually if we've got brick veneer, this brickwork down here would be a single skin thick with isolated piers and engaged piers around the brick wall. So in terms of the overall width of the footing, we would probably have one brick here and sometimes a double, so that would be 230, and we have a little bit of room on either side, so it's probably about a 300 mil thick footing in terms of the width. And over here we've probably got about if it's 300, we've probably got about 30 to 40 mil. So let's just run with about 40 mil. So 10 to 1, we're in about 4 mil from the edge of our footing on each side. So in about 4 mil here and in about 4 mil there. So knowing that, let's come across here and draw a really faint line, 4 mil. I'm going to draw that down this way really faintly. Okay, that'll probably be the edge of our brickwork. And then back here we've got a really faint line for the edge of our footing that we need to come across 4 mil this way to find the edge of our brickwork. So let's just draw that in really faintly there. Okay, so how high is brickwork? We've got 10 mil bed down here, so that's going to be 1 millimeter with our scale. Now we've got 76 mil for a brick, and we've got another mil for our bed and another 76 there. So total, not 76, 7.6 I should say. My mistake, 7.6. So total we've got 1 plus 1 plus 7.6 plus 7.6 gives us 17.2 mil. So let's just work it to 17. We go to this corner here and we go up 17. Gets us to the top of our brickwork there. Okay, we can also measure in our bed joint there. Just going to go over this bottom line and make it a bit darker. So there we've got our 1 mil. And we're going to come up 7, another 1, and then it'll be at the top. So here I'm just going to go really lightly, because that'll be our brickwork. Really lightly here again, and lightly on the top, because we need to figure out where our perp joints go. Also, these two images have the frog of the brick up. For the sake of this drawing, let's not worry about drawing the frog, okay? We'll just leave the top of the brick nice and flat. So our first brick, our bottom left one is over the width of our brick would be 110. So 110 divided by 10 for our scale, 11 mil. So come from this left edge over 11 mil, and we're going to have a 1 mil gap. And then 230 for this next one, 230 long. Divide that by 10 gives us 23. So 23 mil gets us to there. Now with our top row, we've got full brick. So let's come over 23. And we've got a 1mm gap for our pep, and the rest will fill that up. So let's go ahead and draw these vertical lines in now to try and match that. We might need to just rub out the horizontal lines the other way to make this a little bit neater. Might be making this worse myself. Just going to go over these lines, make them a bit darker now so you can see. Brickwork. Very good. Sorry, I missed this one down here. And then the same, we're gonna work back this way. So how wide are our bricks? That's right, 11mm. So I'll put a line in across here, 11mm for our brickwork. And then same up here on the top, 11mm. And join those up, dot to dot. And we'll have one more brick going this way, so we're going to go 23mm with a 1mm space for perp joints. It's going to come across this way, 11mm. And run that to the border of our page. And we'll have horizontal here. And from this point here, just above our perp, in line with the bottom of this top brick, we're going to use that to give us the bottom edge of this brick. So there we go, there's our bricks on our footing. Let's just go over these lines to make them a bit darker, make it a little bit easier to see. Put this line in here on the other side of the footing, and a vertical line here. So maybe before we do the hatching this time, because last time it caught us out a little bit, let's put in our profiles. Let's finish those off. So we can use our lines from this top profile to project down. Okay, we know that we're up 5mm, so lining those up, we can measure up 5mm. We can finish that one off down there. We can move this over, again 5mm, and move this over again. Give us that one there. We know that we're 9mm up, which was the bottom of our footing that it lined up with before. So we're just going to draw all those lines in like that. Same with our profile up here, line those up. Up 5 mil. Gonna go diagonally across 9 mil. There you go. If you want to run these, try and make them look similar to our drawing here where they just sort of disappear, you have a go at doing that. We've got to put our 2 little dots on there to represent our nails or our screws, and then our saw cut. So we've got our first saw cut here, which will be our in line with our footing. So draw that in there, in line with the edge of the footing. Then we've got our next saw cut, which is the edge of the brickwork. So we can line that up with that bottom corner and put another little line in there. And then we said that brickwork was 230 because our single skin dwarf wall plus our engaged piers. So we're going to come down 23 mil and put another little saw cut in there. Sorry, here we've got footing width, which we said before was 300. So let's come down from this footing mark, 300, put a saw cut in there. Very, very sorry about that misdirection. Alright, we could put our hatching in now. So usually our ground level is above the footings for this. So you might want to draw this line up a little bit before it goes across. And put your hatching in. There we go. So there's that drawing done. So now we can work on top right. Going to be very similar to that one, just as this bottom right one will be as well. Okay, so we've got the starting position of our footing again. So here we've got, looks like a little pad footing. Let's say that it's 300 wide, very similar to what we set down here for our other footings. Okay, so being 300 wide and our 230 bricks, again we won't worry about the frog on top. So knowing that, we can just come down, this out of the way, sorry. And come down from our footing, top corner of our footing. We're gonna come down 300 mil this time, okay? So don't run it to the edge of your page, and they're coming down 300. Oops, I'm not lining that up properly. Sorry, a little bit hard to see without sticking my head in the way. 300. Right, then we've got to come down 25 mil. Again, the 300 with to scale will be running out of lead. Okay, now 30 mil. You can join those two together, and then we're going to return it up the page. Okay, so before we said the same thing, we're about 40 mil in from the edge of our footing. So with our scale 1 to 10, that'll be about 4 mil in. So I'm just going to mark 4 mil this way, and 4 mil this way, to give me a guide of where to draw really faint lines. Okay, so we do a faint line down here like that, and another really faint line up here like that, and that will give us the starting point of our brickwork. So our brickwork is going to be, we said before, we had 1 mil, 7 mil, 1 mil, 7 mil, so let's go up 16. It was closer to 17 before. Right, and that should give us the height there. And we're going to come across 230 on the bottom to give us our width. Then again, we're going to come up 17, 16, 17, whatever you went for the first one. That's going to give us 2 bricks high. Okay. So our top brick appears to run this way, so we can make that a solid line. But the brick in the middle, sorry, on the bottom, we've got 2 in there. So give yourself some marks to work to. We've got our perp here, and we're going to come up for our other bricks like that. So our very top line here will be solid. Okay, the one under it, we need to leave a little gap in the middle. So we'll come down halfway, leave a gap, and then we've got 2 little verticals with our perp in the middle and the mud on bottom. Okay, now we can continue these lines around. So on the very top edge, we're going to come across 11 mil. Leave a little gap. And go another 11 mil. That should be our 230. Same down here, we're going to go 11 mil, leave a 1 mil gap, and run it to the edge of our box there. Connect all these lines up. And we'll go to the bottom, draw the underside of the mud joint of the bed. And then our bottom brick runs this way, so it's going to go the whole way to the end. But the next brick up, we need to leave a little gap in there for the pep. Now we can draw in by connecting those two lines there, like that. Okay. And then we've got our brickwork done. If we put this line in up over here, we'll have our footing finished, just like that. Okay, and let's go ahead and put our vertical supports in for our profile, and then we can finish that off. And then put our hatching in. So we're coming up 5 mil from the bottom, and we're coming down 5 mil from the top, just like what we did before. Okay, and we're going to come up 5 mil and continue this line down. Same with this bottom side, we're going to come up 5 mil, continue this line down. Let's do this bottom one first. So coming up 4.5 on to the left, and 9 mil to the right. You can go ahead and put those vertical lines in. And we can do our top one, so coming down 4.5 mil again. And back up to the right, up 9 mil. And connect those two lines, and drawing out vertical lines. Okay, so we've got to put our little dots in, representing our nails and screws. And we've also got to put in our saw cuts. So let's line that first one up with the edge of the footing here. A little saw cut here. Then we'll line it up with the edge of the brickwork. And then line this side up with the edge of the footing or the pier on that side. Okay, draw those tiny little vertical lines in for the saw cuts, and then we're done on this one. Feel free to go over these lines to make them a little bit darker if you want to, just to make them a little bit easier to see. Okay, starting our bottom one. We should be very familiar now. We've already done this one, which is going to be very similar. Sorry, I forgot to add our hatching on this one. So go ahead and feel free to we are hatching in this one. Let's move on to our last one. So starting in this position, we can draw our footing in and we can draw our bricks, very similar to how we drew them for the bottom left drawing. So starting at our crosshair, draw down to the right till we reach the edge of the box, and we're going to come down 250 to be the bottom of our footing, and again draw that to the bottom right to complete that part of the footing. Then we're going to come in, we need to mark in 4.5 mil, so I'm just going to draw a faint line there and come up 4.5. Sorry, a little bit hard to read. I'm going to move this so I can read it a bit better. Just there. Just draw a faint line in here and over 4.5 from that top line should give us starting position of the brickwork. So we're going 2 rows high, so 17 mil again, and then we're going to draw this very bottom line in a bit darker. That's going to be our mud. So coming up 1 mil, we'll have coming across 110 for our first brick. We're going to leave 1 mil gap and go 23. And 1 mil gap to the edge of our page. And then moving up 7 mil. The same thing again, come down 11 mil, leave 1 mil gap, come down 230. Oops, didn't go far enough. Did I? Up to there. Looks like this one's a little bit far. And then leave 1 mil gap and run it to the edge of the page. Just join those up. Sorry, just fixing up my little disgusting bit down there. Alright, and then coming up for our next one, I'll come down 23. 1 mil gap and to the edge of the page, edge of our box, sorry, going to the very top, coming down 23 again, leave a 1 mil gap to the edge of the page, and then draw those vertical lines in to show our perp joints. Then we're going to go across this way, so let me draw this line down here 11 mil, and then up here a bit higher. We're going to take this very lightly to the edge of our page, and we're going to go 110, leave 1 mil gap and run that firmly to the edge. I mean, that line is still going to continue there, but just so you've got something to connect these up with. Should be 2 lines here because of the perp joint. Exactly the same as what we've done here. And then we'll leave 1 mil gap and we'll come down here and run that to the edge of the page. So we've got our purple joint here and there. Now this one, slightly different to our first one. We've got an internal brick, okay, and that should be 5mm gap for our cavity. Could be 40mm, could be 50mm. Let's run with 40mm and we'll make it a 4mm gap, okay? So measuring across here, 4mm, let me just put a little mark, and measuring, we'll put a faint line there, and measuring down 4mm on that faint line that we just drew. That will be the starting point of the internal brick. Okay, so there's not really much to see for this internal brick because of the position we've put it, but that's about it there. Okay, that's going to have a vertical line for that corner, and I don't think we'll be able to see the bottom of this brick here because of that brick there. So that corner is complete now. So we've got our, sorry, let's go over this line a little bit harder, a bit darker. I don't think we drew that in before. Put our verticals in for our profile. So coming up 5mm. Very sorry if you can hear that baby screaming in the background. It's a terrible noise. See if my square makes this. Sorry, I'm just a bit tight for room here. Join all those dots up, that'll be perfect. And do our left one. And almost finished. Just have to confirm this size by measuring up here 9mm. Our saw cuts, I can put those in, which is going to be the edge of our footing there, and then the edge of our brickwork, and then I think we've got the width of our brickwork, which is going to be 110mm wide plus a 40mm cavity plus another 110. 260 divided by our 1:10 ratio gives us 26mm. So we can measure down from that second line you've just drawn in there, 26mm, and that will be our saw cut here for the overall width of our brickwork. And then we've got another line there. We said the The width of our footing before was 300, but I think we're going to have to make it 400 to fit our double brickwork in here. So measuring down there 40 mil, putting our last saw cut in there. Sorry, my square just doesn't fit. I'm just going to have to cheat a little bit there. I'm going to throw these little verticals in to signify our saw cuts. Then we've got our hatching to do, so our ground level comes up a bit before it goes across. So throw in all your hatching. And we've also got the little X's to do on the ends of our profiles. We've got the little 2 dots here signifying our nails or screws. And we're going to put these X's in here to show that we've got end grain on our saw cuts, on our saw cuts on our profile, sorry. Could be a little bit easier if you've got a smaller ruler for that. Don't need our T-square anymore. So complete your hatching, put those in, and then we can put in the printing. So that should do it for that drawing. Now I'll leave it up to you guys to put our writing in. So you can put the title of each individual one in the top left corner of each box, and don't worry about writing that in. Also, don't worry about putting our dimensions in, okay? We don't need to worry about doing that. Please put in the saw cut information down here in each drawing and submit it when you're done.